Bustin' out 'em.
Welcome back to the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast. Hello, everybody. It is Thursday, December 11th, and we've got another great show in store for you. As always, Dave, you look good in your Dimer shirt, my friend. How you doing?
It's nice to be back. If you were a first-time watcher on Tuesday and you're wondering who is this guy, this is the shirt I wear for every podcast, with the exception of the last two, which had Cowboys jersey and Lions shirt as a result of losing a head-to-head bet with my co-host, Greg.
You tempted fate, but the wardrobe gods are back in your favor today, which means it's time to win some bets again. I'm looking forward to it. We've got plenty in store, as we always do on these Thursday renditions of this podcast. We'll give you a Thursday night football preview, Bucs versus Falcons this week. That means we've also got our primetime parlay. There's other Week 15 storylines to look ahead to. We'll finalize our best bets for this week in the NFL. Our first touchdown round robin, as always, unveiled on this very program. We're even going to step outside of the NFL to take a look at the college football playoff bracket. Futures are live on the Dimers site. We'll go through them all and give you our personal plays. But first, we start the show with your Thursday night football preview.
Bucs and Falcons, baby. We got a nice little NFC South gritty Thursday night football game here. Both teams not really in a great spot right now. Predictions are not giving us a huge lean one way or the other, particularly. It's Bucs -5 right now. This has bounced a good bit. When I started doing research on this game last night, it was 4.5. I saw 5.5 this morning. Looks like it's settled at -5 at our current best price. I'll pull up our full game prediction here actually as we do this. And we've got 53% on the Bucs to cover -5 right now, but no edge. It is kind of a juicy spread at -120. I would imagine then if you find 5.5, it's probably a little closer to fair odds there. Over under 43.5, totally 50%, no particular edge. And Falcons get a 29% money line, just about at fair odds at +225. Personally, when I started doing this research, we had no lean at all on the spread. It was 50-50, and the same with the over-under. I was going to say I lean the Bucs and the under. Would even be comfortable taking the Bucs out to -6 or -6.5, which we'll get into. However, that spread has kind of moved on its own, and you're probably going to find it at -5, -5.5. So it probably doesn't hurt to just take -6. You probably get a little bit better odds, maybe even plus money. Over-under hasn't changed. It was 44, but pretty much the same thing here. Just mostly all we've seen is the push removed. But for the most part, without even digging into the numbers, I just think you probably want to side with the healthier team. Bit of a must-win game against the Kirk Cousins-led Falcons here for Tampa Bay, that is. Falcons punted their way to a loss after Penix went down versus the Panthers. Since then, with Kirk Cousins in 3 games, they have managed to score 24 points versus the Saints. And the Jets just got blown out by the Seahawks, though. Mostly between punts and field goals. They're pretty much a kicking clinic and a running game, more so heavy running game plan than before. I would expect very few points from the Falcons in this game, even though the Bucs defense is pretty banged up and kind of in free fall. But definitely think we're looking at a low-scoring, Bucs-dominated game here. Bucs been free falling a bit. Discussed that pretty much all on Tuesday's show when you said you were out on both the Bills and the Bucs this year, Greg. They struggled at home in the rain on Sunday, which is just so bizarre to me. Like, you're the Florida team playing a team that plays in a dome. You should be the best in the rain. I went outside in the rain the other day. I threw 3 touchdowns, so I don't really know what was going on with the Bucs. It was just very weird. They've had a lot of disarray lately, but that was a game you really would have thought they would have bounced back and taken hold of. Got to imagine they're staring at their first place tie with Carolina, wondering how did we end up here? And with the Panthers getting the Saints this week, they could very well find themselves in second place in this division with a loss. So I think it's all Bucs here. Get into some defensive stuff with some of these betting angles, but that's my initial leans and thoughts, with the model not giving us a major one in any direction.
I'm gonna sound like a flip-flopping, wishy-washy man here, Dave. But no, listen, the point I think I intended to make on Tuesday was largely as a contender goes.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't want to consider, like, I open the possibility, could the Bucks win a Super Bowl? I'm interested. Like, I feel so stupid for doing that. Do I think the Bucks at some point have to win a game, especially against a team as lowly as the Atlanta Falcons right now? I do. So I would lean, just at a first glance, it's a weird number at 5, obviously, and that number's jumped around a little bit. But to me, I don't really have much of a strong lean into why Atlanta would have success in this game. Again, it was a weird weather game for the Bucks. That's got to at least have played a factor last week into that letdown loss against the Saints. So while I'm off the bandwagon in the big picture, I'm certainly open to being on the bandwagon for one night on Thursday night. You've got some betting angles for us in this game to take a look at as well. Maybe Mike Evans back in this game.
He certainly should be. They activated him off IR, and Jaleel McLaughlin, I believe. They had to, or not Jaleel McLaughlin. Geez, I'm blanking on the guy. Another wide receiver for the Bucks. But they had to, make moves, roster moves to do that. Mike Evans was practicing since before Week 13 with the hope that he would return in that game. So I got to imagine if they've activated him off IR, made moves to take guys off the roster, he will be playing tonight. Sorely need him for his first action since suffering a broken collarbone in Week 7. And I believe I am correct in this. I looked everywhere, and I didn't see anything to say otherwise in the game logs. This will be the first time this season the Bucks have Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, and Baker Mayfield all on the field. If Baker Mayfield's shoulder wasn't dinged up, you could say this is the healthiest they've been all year without question. I think you could still probably make that case. Pretty low lines for the wide receivers in this game. But I do think there's a lot of room for them to go over these spots. The Falcons' defense was a lot better in the first half of the season. Top-ranked passing defense for about the first half. They've allowed over 260 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns per game since Week 8, which is bottom 5 in the NFL. Egbuka is projected to lead here. We're looking at 54 receiving yards. Have Godwin and Evans in lockstep with 46 receiving yards apiece. 36% TD probability for Mike Evans, which is the second highest in this game, though. But yeah, as I mentioned, this Falcons passing defense has softened up quite a bit. So I would not be surprised to see a couple big nights here if they can actually get their passing game going, which has been a tough run for Baker Mayfield a little bit lately. Evans, he's it's kind of funny. It's sad a little bit to see his chase for 12 straight 1,000-yard seasons come to an end because of injury early in the season. He didn't really even get a chance to rack up a ton before coming back, and would be like, hey, if he just has a couple big games, he needs like 260 per game down the stretch. But I think they're going to try to make up for it a little bit by getting their guy the ball. It's a home game. He's a Bucs legend, future NFL Hall of Famer. His first game back, he's probably going to get peppered with targets. Probably good things for both Egbuka and Evans, because Egbuka's been kind of forced into this wide receiver 1 role here for them without a lot of help outside of that. And while he's been targeted like crazy, 8+ per game since Week 7 when Evans went down, he's caught under half of those. So Evans' presence might help him get some cleaner looks, as he won't have all the defensive attention. Probably won't have as many targets. I don't think we'll see 12 targets, 10 targets for Emeka Egbuka, but hopefully they're of higher quality, and could see these guys actually have some pretty good games, even if the model's a little conservative for them in the projections.
I think that's a very fair shout. Yeah, it's a great receiving core. They've been so banged up this year with Egbuka in and out of the lineup, Evans missing a bunch of time, Godwin missing a bunch of time. It's been so rare to have all 3 available that I think it's still almost unknown what the picture should look like. Like when they were available, I don't even think they've had a game with all 3, right? Because Godwin missed the start of the year.
Yep.
But when Evans and Egbuka were both available, Emeka wasn't really what he had become. It was still a rookie in his first couple weeks, and then you lose Evans, and Egbuka's gotten a lot better. So I'll be fascinated to see what the usage is in this game. Like I said, the Falcons defense in general is not something I find overly resistant. This is going to be a good maybe game to learn how does Tampa want to use these guys, even if Mike Evans is, at 50% and on the field for half of the game instead of 100% of the game? We'll sort of see how much attention he gets from Baker Mayfield. The problem with that is it hasn't been a good month for Baker Mayfield. Dave, what have you seen from Baker this month?
It's not been, and this was a guy who was an MVP candidate probably through the first 4 to 6 weeks easily. I don't think he ever got shorter than about plus 900, but that was good enough for top 4, top 5. I mean, he was inside Patrick Mahomes odds at one point. But yeah, not a really good month for Mr. Mayfield. Under 200 passing yards and 4 straight, 4-4 touchdown, or 1-1, but 4 touchdowns to 4 interceptions over those games. Getting Evans back should be a huge help for him. Projecting him for 226 passing yards tonight, which is obviously well over what he's done in his last few games. Best game, obviously, in that run. I do think we'll see that passing game open up a bit. You have to remember, too, they didn't have Bucky Irving for the big center of the season. And now that they've had him back, it hasn't coincided well with Baker's banged up shoulder. But having everybody here, you'll have the true two-pronged attack. You'll have a dangerous rushing game. Bucky's been great since he returned. You'll have a full stacked offensive receiving core. It just seems like they're going to have pretty much all the pieces at their disposal tonight, which just should bode well for a good game for Baker. One thing I did notice looking through his games, that in this stretch where he hasn't been an effective passer, he's been using his legs a lot more lately. And I wouldn't think too much of this if it was just like 1 or 2 carries and they're like clear, just scrambles under pressure. But carry totals of 5, 4, 6, and 6 in his past 4 games after a midseason stretch of 0 and like 2 or 3 in about 6, 7 games. He opened the season with 3 games crushing his rushing line with, I think, 35, 39, and 40-something yards. And in his past 3, he's had 27-plus yards. So seems like they're getting back to him scrambling a bit. Could be as a result of his shoulder hurting, but it doesn't look like they're just emergency scrambles. Like he's actually getting a few carries with purpose. Like I said, he crushed this line in his first 3 games. Falcons are allowing almost 25 QB rushing yards per game, which is the 3rd most in the NFL, 25.7 in the second half of the season. So they've been consistent all year. 21.6 for Baker last I checked. And his line was at 19.5. So got him just over that. You can get plus money at 25 plus rushing yards for Baker if that interests you.
Yeah, it interests me for sure. I feel like every time I watch the Bucs, Baker is using his legs more than anybody realizes, and I think he's almost often underpriced every single week in terms of what to expect. You only need 1 to 2 scrambles, even if it is in emergency situations. But to your point, it's been more than emergency situations late. Certainly, while Baker will pick his spots on the ground, there are some confusing backfield situations in this game. Bucky Irving in and out of the lineup all season long. I still don't really know what's going on there. With him back, Tucker and White, what do you do with them? They both had bright spots earlier in the year, but do you have any sort of clarity on what you think the hierarchy is here from the Bucs backfield?
It's definitely Bucky. More than half of all the touches out of the backfield since he came back, 32 total carries. They didn't really ease him in, but I don't think we'll see him hit like 20 carries on this short week, given that he is, still kind of coming back from the injury. They do have really good backfield depth anyway. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's like hitting 20 plus over the final 3 games if they just really try to commit to him there. But projecting him for a pretty good night, about 62 rushing yards, 38% TD probability. Tucker and White have been mixed in a bit, but what to really do with them lately is kind of hard. They've all evenly split the red zone touches since Bucky returned, 3, 3, and 2, I believe. So there's certainly vulture potential at the goal line. If you're concerned about Bucky scoring, I think it's a little justified here. One thing I will note, though, is that the carries for Tucker and Rachaad White haven't been of the highest quality. They're not like the driving big goal, big drive touches. They're kind of just in passing, giving Bucky a spell. So I don't think you're expecting much out of them. I'm going to talk about Sean Tucker in a little bit. But one thing I'll note that I do like for Bucky tonight, it's not exactly a angle I haven't talked about before, but the Falcons are conceding almost 50 receiving yards per game to running backs since week 8. Irving's hit 33, 50, and 102 in 3 of his games this season. Doesn't get a ton of targets, but enough to be viable. I think we projected him for 2.6 in this game, 23 receiving yards. I do think there's an opportunity for him to go up that little bit of a ladder. Might be something I look at tonight. I haven't really dug into the lines. But if you can get an appealing Bucky Irving line of like 25, 40 rushing yards, I think it's something to look at as well. Or receiving yards, that is, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Bucky's obviously the most dynamic. And now that he's been back, it makes a lot of sense that they would give him the heavy sort of workhorse share of this. At the same time, like I thought Tucker was productive in multiple opportunities, and White is a guy that can be used out of the backfield too. So the short week is the one thing hanging over this for me. I feel like I'm a little tentative to think it's going to be the Bucky show just because it is short rest. And I don't know, it was a weird game last week for the Bucs, obviously, but in general, right now, I just as a personal bettor, I am afraid of both of these backfields. And that is a great segue into Atlanta because you shouldn't be afraid of Bijan. Bijan is amazing. He's one of the 2 or 3 most talented backs in the entire league, depending on where you think Saquon Barkley ranks at this point. The problem is Tyler Algier is just a sniper. He takes touchdowns from him. He takes red zone carries at the same rate Bijan does. So I don't know. Are you going to talk me into Bijan tonight at all, or what's your interpretation of the Falcons breakdown?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much always staying away from Bijan scoring for that reason. He's always minus odds, minus 150, minus 170. So, you're paying juice on him to score. And then the threat of Tyler Algier just really eats into that for me. But workload wise, I'm not concerned about him. He's really the only good player in this offense right now. And kind of for the most part, without Drake London, there is nobody else you're really inspired by in the Falcons offense. But in a weird way, that's kind of helping him. It's likely due to his volume. He's only got 1 game with 20 plus carries in his first 9 this season, 3 in his past 4, including the game in which Michael Penix went down. And that's resulted in 3 of his 5 best performances this season. One game with 140 yards, almost 200 all-purpose yards in that game. His passing work is a little volatile. He's like basically either seeing only 2 targets or more than 5. But he's always a threat for a long catch. We project him for 40 receiving yards tonight. And obviously the top touchdown probability in this game at 53%. But yeah, the red zone split is crazy. They each have 29 red zone carries this season, but the difference is Algier's turned that into 7 touchdowns, 4 for Bijan, and most of those have come in the past couple of weeks. So Algier's just been consistently taken away from the goal line. And as much as they're trying to keep the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hands, you've seen Algier with double-digit carries in 2 of his past 3 games, 31 carries, and Cousins 3 starts. Like they're running the ball over 30 times a game with Cousins in there. So should be great volume for Bijan. I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. And maybe even for Algier, and he's the guy with the touchdown value tonight. Hope I don't get caught, and it's the odds have changed, and he's not here anymore. But yeah, there we go. Tyler Algier, anytime TD, 36%, which is the second highest on the Falcons, and plus 230. So pretty good value there. I'm actually surprised we don't even have him for 2. I would have imagined he would be if he's at value there. Maybe his odds just aren't good enough. But yeah, Tyler Algier, super in line for a vulture tonight, but I wouldn't be concerned about Bijan's regular volume between the goal lines.
Yep. It just feels like the story of the Atlanta Falcons, and it's a story I don't like to buy into, to be point blank, which is why I lean the Bucs -5, even though I'm not a Bucs guy. Just don't go away from your best player in the red zone. It drives me crazy. I don't understand it. If I was a Falcons fan, I'd be screaming about this every single game, but I think that's the only way to interpret this going into tonight. Speaking of tonight, one of the fun ways to bet Thursday night football is our Thursday night football jackpot on FanDuel. The top options for first touchdown probability tonight are Bijan Robinson at almost 14%, Bucky Irving at 9%, Mike Evans holding strong at 8% with a Mike Evans return. How would you play the jackpot tonight, Dave?
Yeah. So, I mean, straight up, if you want the Dimers fully endorsed play, Tyler Algier. I'm actually surprised. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that he's the fourth highest TD probability in this game, given just the uninspiring passing game for the Falcons. But I don't think it's going to be as cute of a play as people might think. You're probably not going to get the biggest bonus bet, but he's an edge play. He's a top 4 probability to score the first touchdown. I think you can't go wrong with him. And if you want the really deep cut, you know me. I like my crazy guys. Give me Sean Tucker. He's only 16.3% to score a touchdown, so he should be really low picked. But like I said, they're splitting those red zone touches pretty evenly. If they get close, you just might find Sean Tucker with a goal line bang, and that'd be fun.
That would be extremely fun. I think just to give myself a win with my most frustrating thing to watch in this game, I think it's Algier for me, right? Because I get annoyed every time they give him a red zone carry. Why not win while I am annoyed, you know?
Yep. I mean, he's the best value. He's got the most touchdowns on the team, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, you can't really go along with him.
And that's probably the only way I would play that tonight. All right. Thank you. There's your Thursday night football preview. Plenty of ways to approach this. I don't know. I don't want to call it an ugly game because I think the Bucs can be a very fun team to watch. And you've got Bijan. He's also explosive as hell. But a weird spot in the season for both of these teams, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, it doesn't matter if it's a weird spot, a sexy spot, or what. There's still money to be made. And we've got our Thursday night football same game parlay.
Thursday Night Lotto.
With the 30% boost that you can get on this at DraftKings, you can get this up to plus 750. It's about 5.5 to 1 without the boost. What are we going with?
Pretty much have talked about everything in this already, so we'll probably be pretty quick hit here. But we've got Mike. I'll go with the touchdown scorer last. We'll start with Bijan. 70 plus rushing yards here. Like I said, the Falcons have leaned heavily on the run since Penix Jr.'s ACL injury. 20 plus carries in 3 of the last 4 games. Hit 70 plus rushing yards in all 4 games including the game when Penix went down. Projecting him for 77.7 tonight. Only 4 games under this mark all season. Those were primarily when he was used more as a receiver, which he's been trending down just a little bit in. Like I said, Atlanta wants to limit Kirk Cousins passing. Bucs allowed 139 rushing yards last week to the likes of Devin Neal, Tyler Shough, and whoever else was running the ball for the Saints. Mike Evans, like we said, we're expecting him to be back. If Mike Evans isn't back, we're playing a Bijan Robinson 70-plus rushing yards, same game parlay. But he should be back, and I really think he's going to be heavily featured. The Dimers model supports this projection, or supports this leg with our projection. He should be ready if they activate him. Bucs passing attack has struggled without him. Should regain that 8-plus target volume he was seeing before he got hurt. He hit 50-plus yards in both of his full healthy games when he started the season, projecting him for 46.4 tonight. And like I said, the Falcons passing defense has collapsed. Over 260 yards and 2 passing touchdowns per game since week 8. And if we're going to take him to get the yards, let's take Mike Evans to get a touchdown. He's the second highest in this entire game besides just Bucky Irving and Bijan Robinson. But makes him the second highest on the Bucs. Pretty much fair odds at 37% and plus 165. Like I said, 2+ passing touchdowns a game for Atlanta. It's probably going to be Egbuka and Evans getting the big looks. I really think we got a good spot for Evans here. They should look to get him involved pretty much right away. They badly need him and, do what he does best.
I have this question for you with Evans before we move on from Thursday Night Football. Do you have any interest personally in an Evans ladder this week, or do you want to be tentative with the return from injury?
I think, to be honest, I think I forgot to put this in my notes because I was thinking about it at least while I was doing stuff this morning. Yeah, I like either one of the. I kind of said it in passing that I think either one of these guys can have a big night. I don't know if I would go full ladder, but I'd probably look at I don't know what the odds are right now, but I'd look at 60, 70, 80, maybe just 70, 80, 90, 100, or just take either one of these receivers to go for like 80 or 100. It's going to be plus money because their lines are so low. Should be good return. And yeah, I do like him. I think he's going to be heavily featured. just guess we have to see.
So I pulled it up quickly. 2-1 at 60 plus, 3-1 70, plus 434 at 80, 6-1 90, plus 880 for 100 yards for Mike Evans. Yeah, I don't know. I with injury returns, you always got to be careful. At the same time, you will rarely ever get a Mike Evans number this low. And we've seen stars come back with a bang before. The more we talk through it, if we've got Evans so involved in the primetime parlay, I think I might sprinkle maybe just 40, 60, 80 tonight and see what happens.
Yeah, that's not bad. Do a smaller ladder, maybe for a half a unit instead of a full unit, if that's what you would normally do on one. But yeah, I definitely think it's a good spot. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. There you have it. Mike Evans to score. Mike Evans, 40+ receiving yards. Bijan Robinson, 70+ rushing yards. Your prime time parlay. Up next, let's give you some other things to look for in week 15, starting with the return of Mr. Phillip Rivers. Dave, does Phillip Rivers in 2025 get you out your seat?
It does, not because I'm excited to play him in anything or bet on him or watch him, but I just think this is like what a time that we live in right now with this. But yeah, I mean, Phillip Rivers, question mark. Look, you could say a lot of things about the Colts. One thing you can't say is that they are ageist. They went in and they got their guy to come back, sign him to the practice squad. Everyone knows about the saga by now. We don't have to get into it, but will he play? Almost definitely not. They got him as an emergency option here, and in case they need an in-game backup. And furthermore, Riley Leonard was a full practice participant on Wednesday. Rivers is still only on the practice squad, which means I also don't have to divulge what he's even doing in practice, who he's practicing with, how many reps he's taking. So really got no idea what you're going to get from him. As far as the Colts' outlook, I don't think it changes much if he's in instead of Leonard. Frankly, I don't even know what they'll make of that, what the model would make of that, which having to use historical data to put Phillip Rivers, who hasn't played in 5 years, in this situation is obviously going to be a little wonky. It's not a good outlook for anyone, really. No one higher than 22% probability to score for any Colts pass catcher. Jonathan Taylor, obviously higher than the 55% TD probability. Kind of funny, is his lowest of the year, more or less. Unless he breaks a big one, though, that might even be too high. Pittman's topping out at 44 receiving yards, leading the entire passing game here, or receiving game here. And earlier this season, in another life, this would have been a showdown of the two offensive player of the year favorites. And now it will likely be Jonathan Taylor watching Jackson Smith and Jigba run away with the title that could have been his. Not going to get excited about it. The NFL, the media will be all over the Phillip Rivers storyline on Sunday. Should be entertaining enough, but no, there's nothing really to get excited about in the Colts offense if Phillip Rivers is there, and if he's not, it's not much better.
I can't get there with Phillip, man. I'm trying, but I watched the press conference, and he's just joking about how out of shape he is. Like, I if I'm a Colts fan, I can't believe this is what we're going with.
I only just remembered this, but it really reminds me of the Cowboys signing John Kitna like 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. It might even be longer. Because he was on the team, then he left, and then I believe he was coaching high school ball, and they called him up, and they were like, "We might be down so bad, we need you as our emergency QB3." And that's kind of what this is reminding me of. John Kitna did not play, as far as I remember anyway. If I did, I deleted it, and it wasn't memorable, and that's probably what you would see if Phillip Rivers dons the field.
Just completely chaos, man. The NFL is a crazy business. Like, imagine telling a Colts fan when they drafted Anthony Richardson that Phillip Rivers would be starting in like 3 years. It's absolutely nonsensical. I feel for them. I don't even want to spend more time on that because it's such a dark train of thought. I need some positivity here. Hey, if you're not a Chiefs fan, this is some positivity because the dynasty that's been running the league for basically an entire decade could face playoff elimination this week. Dave, is this going to be the final nail in the coffin for Kansas City?
It might be. The models, if you're looking at the model, 3 out of the 4 things that need to happen are predicted to. It's kind of funny. They're the only team that can be eliminated this week. There's 3 or 4 playoff clinchers. But there's only one elimination game. And it's the Chiefs. The first major hit to the dynasty could come this week. There's multiple paths that's happening, but some of them involve pretty major upsets like the Colts beating the Seahawks. So let's look at the most likely path, which would be, first of all, the Chiefs losing to the Chargers. They are 4.5, 5-point favorites in that game, I believe. Jags beating the Jets, Bills beating the Pats, and the Texans beating the Cardinals. Obviously, those last three all sound, they all sound very feasible. Dare I say that's all in play. The Chiefs would be the biggest dog, the Chargers would be the biggest dog here. But if you're jealous of everyone with the Chiefs to miss playoffs ticket, you kind of have a chance with a little 2-team money line parlay here. If you leave out the Jags and the Texans because they're just super heavy favorites, minus 550 and minus 900 for the Jags. But the Chargers Bills money line is plus 459. We got 57% probability for the Bills to win. A little value on that as well if you go on the Dimers site. Just 29% for the Chargers. No value there. But, you saw what they did, banged up and everything against the Eagles. The Chiefs are, not having a good run of it lately. Chargers offense has been pretty dismal. But if they can generate some Chiefs turnovers the way they beat the Eagles the other night, we very well may see the first elimination of the playoffs for the Chiefs in the Patrick Mahomes era.
You mean to tell me that Josh Allen finally got rid of Patrick Mahomes?
It would be that would be hilarious. He finally does eliminate the Chiefs, but it wasn't in the head-to-head game.
By beating Drake May, Josh Allen finally gets past Patrick Mahomes. It would be impressive.
He's aware of that.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing. He probably actually is. Is there any part of you, and this is completely personal, we don't even need to look at anything the model tells us on this, but on a personal note, what's your belief level that this is actually coming to an end? Like, I get right to the finish line. I don't think this Chiefs team has anything left. And at the same time, there's this little voice in my head being like, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's going to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Do you get that same feeling at all?
No. I think they could win this game. Wouldn't surprise me if they do. But I do think they aren't making the playoffs. The fact that they're under 500 kind of says it all to me. Last year, they got away with all that black magic stuff to win some games. But their record was really good. This year they are struggling to even stay afloat. It's too narrow there. The Texans are now above them, have a tiebreaker now. Too many things in flux. So I do think this is the end for their nonstop run to the postseason, but it may not come this Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I know mathematically it has to happen at some point. I just can't fully get my brain to accept it yet. And it'll be fun to watch at minimum to see what happens. A big breath of fresh air from the rest of the league that this could finally be over. Okay, there's some extra storylines for you. Next, let's take a look at our NFL Week 15 best bets.
Weekend best bets.
If you go back to the week before Thanksgiving, our official best bets card on this show has a 7-1 run ongoing, and we would love to keep this up. What are we starting with this week, Dave?
Well, starting with the number one play that was in our number one play, or was our number one play rather, on Tuesday. So don't have to go too much deeper into this, but Bengals plus 2.5. Still holding strong, 58.2% probability, 7% edge. One of our model's favorite teams in here all season, back-to-back winning picks, hoping to go for a third straight cover with Joe Burrow under center. Joe Burrow apparently hates football now. Hopefully that is not going to hurt us here, but apparently football is no longer fun for Joe Burrow, and hopefully he wants to have some fun this week and beat the Ravens like he did 2 weeks ago, which I have to imagine was fun for Joe Burrow. So come on, help us out. Joe Cool here. Anyway, same matchup as they had 2 weeks ago when they cashed for us the first time. Now they're at home, fully revived Bengals offense, putting up 30-plus points in 2 games since Burrow's return. Defense is so volatile, which is the problem that you're worried about. It's why the Bengals are 2.5-point home dogs. But offensive ceiling makes them an elite team to back here. And Baltimore is just not looking themselves. 2 straight losses. Lamar Jackson looking just kind of lost out there, not 100% at all. Passing game looks completely broken. And while Derrick Henry's been really solid, He's topped 100 rushing yards only once in his last 5 games. Didn't even manage to do so in this particular matchup. I don't think that might be the case this time. I think he's, good opportunity for a bounce back of a big game for Henry, but overall, really hard to trust the Ravens in this current form. T. Higgins on the Bengals side remains in concussion protocol. And with this being a recurrence of the same concussion, might make his clearance a bit more difficult here. He's practicing in a limited capacity, last that I saw. So that's somewhat positive news, but I would approach his props and any passing stuff with caution, probably leaning towards a Jamar Chase big game as he's dominated the Ravens in his career. Back to Derrick Henry real quick. Obviously the most dangerous player on the Ravens offense, especially with the passing game having so many issues. Bengals run defense is basically the worst in the NFL. And Henry's projecting for 88 rushing yards, pretty good, 61% TD probability. One angle I like, I'll probably save this one for the end of the show when I have a thing about it, but he did catch one pass for 44 yards last time out. Bengals have struggled to contain receiving backs all year. Henry hasn't had a lot of volume, projected for just 1.2 receptions and 12.3 yards, but he's plus money for 15 plus. Could be a sneaky little angle. He's so big and hard to bring down and fast that one catch can be enough for him to go off. So he doesn't need a lot of volume. And stop me if you've heard this before. The Bengals are bad at defending tight ends. And guess who led the Ravens passing game in week 12? Isaiah Likely with 95 yards, Mark Andrews with 47, and then the rest of the receivers. So no other Raven caught more than 2 passes. I don't know. Don't know if you'll see that again, but it's kind of surprising to see, of all positions, the tight end position be so easily exploitable against the Bengals all season long. You would have thought that would be some skewed sample sizes or some outliers, but it's not. They just cannot defend the position. And I'm firing up Isaiah Likely in a fantasy playoff matchup against someone playing Mark Andrews. So it's going to get interesting.
It's going to be such a fascinating chess match. The true tacticians of fantasy football playoffs right here. I'm all over Bengals here. Why not? I think this team's been showing real value in the model in recent weeks. They were on the card last week. I think the Ravens don't pass the smell test. They haven't all season long, despite numerous attempts to kind of right the ship. And they're supposed to run away with this division. Just hasn't happened yet. So I have no issue taking the team with the points here at a high probability from the model. Perfectly happy to lock this into my card. Next up, I see your team on the list here, Dave. The Dallas Cowboys with a bounce back spot. Please tug on the heartstrings for me here. What do you see?
They bounce back. I do think they do so. However, I'd be feeling a lot better if it weren't for I'll talk about it in a bit, but the McCarthy pop-up last week. But 57% probability here, 4.6% edge. I am happy that I get to talk about my team. A little nervous. I got to sing their praises to back this up. But I do like it. Certainly within the range of feasible outcomes in this game. And like I said, I wouldn't even be thinking twice about this if not for the random J.J. McCarthy Goblin mode game last week. But I will say the Commanders are basically a total joke on defense, while the Cowboys have not only turned the defense around a little bit the past few weeks, but are a considerably better team all around. Offense will be more in it. They have a lot more to play for. The defense is well rested and motivated. But yeah, I mean, that defense also, if there ever were a game for Justin Jefferson to get back on track, sadly, it's this one against the Cowboys on prime time. I could certainly see him going absolutely nuclear. Would be curious about his lines as well. Obviously, his receiving props have been discounted heavily with J.J. McCarthy and the general quarterback issues for the Vikings, but he's still Justin Jefferson. Wouldn't surprise me to see like his 100 plus, still only like plus 220 or something. But we have him projected for, I believe, 67 receiving yards, so pretty much right around his line. And I don't really know which receiver I would be looking for if you're trying to attack that type of angle this week. Jordan Addison, maybe, but he's really struggled with getting good looks since he's returned, and with J.J. McCarthy under center. truthfully think the McCarthy game we saw last week, well, obviously it is the outlier based on what we've seen from the body of work, but I don't think we're going to see it again. If the Cowboys choose to blitz like they didn't against Jared Goff for some reason, they should make things a little bit more difficult for him. If they don't, then the Vikings are probably going to hang in this game. But realistically, they should make things pretty tough for what is one of the worst QBs by EPA in NFL history. And last week probably didn't do much to change that. Big prop angle for me in this one is on Aaron Jones, though. Might go nuclear after what Gibbs did and other receiving backs have done against this team this season. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, as you know, crushed the receiving yards ladder in the first quarter, crushed the receiving yards ladder in the game. Project Jones for 20 receiving yards and a 29% TD probability. But what really stands out to me from that angle is that the Cowboys really struggle with long down situations where players catch a pass underneath. They do not tackle well. If that guy catches the ball and gets moving, they don't close in on him very much. They have the 31st ranked third down defense on display with that right there. That's exactly how J.J. McCarthy played last week. His 7.5 yard average depth of target was his second lowest of the season. He got the ball out quickly, short, and it made it hard to exploit his shortcomings. Would probably see that this week. So I really like me some Aaron Jones underneath. Sneaky little ladder play for me. Haven't debated if I'll be playing him in the fantasy league I have him in yet, but I do really think he's a good sneaky play. Personally, there's less on the line to bet Aaron Jones as a ladder than to put him in a fantasy matchup that could end my season. So I can be high on him and apprehensive about starting him as well. But anyway, yeah, Cowboys much better rested in this one after the 3 games and the traveling in the 2-week span. Should be a pretty good game for them. If CD's back, I think you forget about it. It's done. If he's not, wheels up on Ryan Flanoy and Jake Ferguson. Keep an eye on our projections in case he is ruled out. He's currently in there right now. They say he's, quote, progressing nicely, but what that means, we don't really know. And it wouldn't surprise me to see no update on CD till Saturday evening or even Sunday with this game, not until Sunday Night Football. Yeah. And if CD's out, probably all Javonte Williams in this. Vikings rushing defense has been pretty poor lately. Over 100 yards per game in the second half of the season, 25th worst red zone defense. Javonte, 53% TD probability, the highest in this game by far, almost 10% higher than anyone else. Projected for over 90 total yards. Yeah, I do think it's the Cowboys. While they can be exploited and there could be some very good performance is hidden in here, I think they got this one.
Yeah, I am very in line with you on Dallas. Although it does break our Dallas biblical rule here: bet the underdog, bet the over. So we're gonna have to come to terms with that. But no, this Minnesota team at this point, they're not playing for playoff contention. The only thing that interests me with Minnesota here, which you're gonna laugh, this is every week I float this. Justin Jefferson's lines are so deflated. And this is the Dallas secondary. I'm just staring at ways to potentially bet him. I mean, it feels like forever since he's caught a touchdown, but plus 170 to find the end zone, 13-1 for 2 touchdowns. I mean, I would bet a role receiver, a wide receiver 3 against Dallas at 13-1 to catch 2 touchdowns. So I'm staring at that. It's kind of reverse engineering against the model that expects a Cowboys blowout, but I don't know. I might even work in like a reverse correlation, maybe a Justin Jefferson touchdown, same game parlay with Cowboys -5.5. There's got to be some way for me to personally attack Vikings receivers while playing Cowboys -5.5.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, plus money for 70 plus receiving yards is crazy. I know like what we're seeing. And last week, he didn't do it, but they had a play for him last week. I'm pretty sure Kevin O'Connell like drew up on the fly, sent Justin Jefferson screaming behind the defense. Would have been a 70-yard touchdown, but McCarthy, and he rolled out to the right where Justin Jefferson was and kept it and ran for 16 yards. Got a first down. They were well up. So, but that's the type of play you need to see a guy throw that pass and hit it. But they could do that again. It's the Cowboys secondary is exploitable, and Kevin O'Connell's probably like, I'm going to try that play again. I wouldn't surprise me. Maybe
I mean,
on the other side of the field.
Or at minimum, as we talk through it, right, even if you do buy the game script that Dallas is going to extend a lead here, you would think Minnesota needs to throw and just play from behind. So I think that's going to be my two. I'll have Dallas -5.5 on the card, and I'm also going to have some combination of Justin Jefferson big game props as well. One more official play on the best bets card this week. It is Miami catching a field goal plus the hook. 59% probability here. Take me through your outlook for Miami.
Yeah, this one has tipped up just a bit. It was actually +3 on our early looks, +3.5, 6.5% edge, higher probability. Sometimes it does pay to wait. And our second look at this game this week, so we're probably not going to go too much into it. But yeah, you don't have to worry about the push now. You get the extra half point outside a field goal. Dolphins coming in, riding a 4-game win streak, wins in 5 of their last 6, keeping their playoff hopes alive, albeit very, very slim. They need multiple things to go their way as well, but they're playing their best football of the season, 30-plus points in 2 of their last 4, no more than 17 points allowed on this little win streak. A-Chain's been the key problem for everyone to contain, absolute powerhouse this year, but even more notably down this stretch, it's basically just give him the ball. And if they don't do that, it's the Riley Patterson field goal, and that's how the Dolphins have been winning these games. Left early last week, rib injury, had an MRI, no break, said he wants to play, said he could have came back in that game. Extra day of rest, good signs for his availability here. Steelers side, really surviving more than thriving, I would say. Escaping last week with 2 narrow touchdowns, overturned for Isaiah Likely. Mark Andrews briefly switched teams to break up a game-winning TD pass to DeAndre Hopkins, and just not really good stuff for the Steelers. Their offense is pretty stagnant in the passing game outside of DK Metcalf, kind of piecing it together week to week, and not a lot to be inspired by. I will say, however, everybody knows this. Tua struggles notoriously in cold weather games, 0-6, games below 40 degrees. But to be honest, it's not that different from his regular stats this year. 58% completion and a 1-to-1 TD-INT ratio is pretty much exactly what he's been doing this season. And their game plan has not been to lean on Tua as much as it has in the past. It's been Devin A-Chain. It's been field goals. It's been grinding it out, getting the win. Dolphins, generated 17 takeaways this season. Just that Tua is throwing so many picks that their turnover differential isn't high, but they do turn the ball or take away the ball, which is really good. Generate turnovers. It's a really good model probability here, so I'm not going to ignore the top overall play on the board, but we certainly wouldn't be offended if you guys don't want to back Tua in a primetime cold weather game spot. But the model likes the value here significantly.
Yeah. Yep. I will take this at this number. Very favorable football number. And the Dolphins, like I said, the hottest team in the NFL, very quietly so, without anybody giving you real attention. So it's good to see. We do this show twice a week. On Tuesdays, we give you the early look, and sometimes these best bets completely flip. That's the beauty of Dimers Pro. That's why you need to get Dimers Pro. 50% off. Promo code podcast, by the way. You can get all of this information on your own in real time and check it whenever you want. But if you are just a listener of this show, trying to kind of sort through our information, sometimes our best bets change. The early look value is a lot different than the value on Thursday. And this week, a couple of these bets were bets we gave you early looks at. In this case, this is one moving in an even more favorable direction for us, moving in a more probable outcome way. And I love to see that. So there you have it. Lock them in. We've got Bengals +2.5, Cowboys -5.5, Dolphins +3.5 as our official best bets for this week. You've also got one more touchdown prop to unveil here, and you are looking at Mr. Tyrone Tracy Jr. What do you see here?
Yep. So actually going to say, I'll give the pitch on him, but I will say the value is no longer there. So this wouldn't really be a Dimers backed play. Was previously. We had the value, odds movement, and slight probability change has kind of pushed it out. But I'll talk to it anyway because I did the research, and maybe someone will still be convinced by the angle, but you'll know that the Dimers model no longer has an edge. But he had an edge on 1 and 2+. dominating the touches after the Scatabo injury and before he got hurt pre-bye, 14, 19, and 20 carries in 3 straight games. Commanders allowing 1 touchdown per game to running backs, 27th ranked red zone defense. They've been even worse over the past 5 weeks, 30th in the red zone, over 133 rushing yards per game. Do have to worry about Devin Singletary. He also had an edge for 2+ at 13% and plus 850. He's gone down a little bit to about 10%, but the odds haven't changed, so not a huge edge there. Very exploitable defense to the position. Definitely think one of them is probably scoring 2. Could even be Jackson Dart. But Tyrone Tracy had some good value. It's gone now, but you might have seen that up there, and it's still a very good matchup for him.
Yep, great matchup. Love the call out. Unfortunate that the value is gone, but still appreciate you calling it out as something to keep an eye on this week, Dave. All right, next we've got our first touchdown round robin. Last week, no luck, but if we can get back to hitting 2 of these legs, that would be 3 times in the past 5 weeks. That still feels like a hot streak to me. So give us some names this week. Who are we looking at?
That is still some pretty good momentum. We're not going too far outside the top of the board this week. Actually, 4 of them, I believe, are straight from the top 6 or 7. I'll pull it up here, and we'll go through them one by one, starting off with Travis Etienne against the Jets, which is obviously a great matchup. He's the second highest of the whole week. We are passing over CMC as the highest at 20%. He's just plus 250, which is a really steep price for a touchdown. For a first touchdown, rather, without any value. His fair odds would be about plus 400, so just not quite there. But Etienne's fresh off a 2 TD game after laying an egg in a great Week 13 matchup. Jets hold one of the worst rushing defenses in the league, almost 140 yards per game, 17 touchdowns allowed. That's tied for the 3rd most in the NFL. Been even worse in the second half of the season with almost 2 rushing scores per game, 62.5% red zone conversion rate to opponents. Worst in the league since week 9. Book Travis Etienne for our first leg. Derrick Henry, going to go right back to him in a spot that he did well in against the Bengals in week 12. Also cashed his first TD in that week with a 28-yard run. Matchup remains the same against the previously mentioned worst rushing defense in the league with a 63.4% red zone conversion rate. Henry's basically the only thing going right at all for the Ravens right now. Always potential to break a big play from anywhere on the field and go to the house. Top 5 probability from our model in this very good spot. Next up, the only receiver in this week's try is Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's been in here. Probably the most featured player in here, maybe besides Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey. We've got him twice, though. We'll see if he can cash us a 3rd time. JSN's got 5 TDs in his past 5 games. 2 games, he's got a pair of scores. No one's been able to shut him down at all. In his worst game all year, which he had against the Vikings a couple weeks ago, it was a 26-0 blowout. He just wasn't needed. It wasn't because they were able to cover him. He's the highest wide receiver on the board this week at 13%. He's sitting just outside the top 5 overall, which I believe is the highest we've seen for a wide receiver all year. Even Devontae Adams on his torrid streak. And might go overlooked, but JSN's not just a big play guy. He's converted 13 red zone looks into 5 touchdowns. So they use him in short yard situations at the goal line as well. 60% red zone conversion rate allowed for the Cardinals. The Colts. Saquon Barkley. Only thing that went right for Philly in this last game was Saquon looking like his old self. Vegas tied for the 2nd most touchdowns allowed this season with 18. He's averaging 1.2 per game to running backs since week 9, over 118 rushing yards. Just really, really bad rushing defense from the Raiders. If the Eagles can't keep the Raiders out of the end zone first, I really don't know what to tell you, and I don't know how to bet the Eagles the rest of the way. But the best thing this offense can do is to get a jolt of energy. Would be getting Saquon going for a couple games in a row. Hurts is struggling lately. Might want to just turn the ball over to their best player and see if he can get it going early for them. 12% probability for Saquon. Same odds as Hurts in this game, but with a better matchup position-wise. And finally, Travion Henderson. We're looking at the marquee game of the afternoon here in Bills-Pats. The only defense that has allowed more rushing touchdowns than the Raiders and Jets, who are both featured in this, that would be the Bills. Well-rested Patriots bring their two-man backfield up against a very soft rushing defense that can't stop anyone this year. Even as the Bills have gotten a little bit better yards-wise, they've given up 1.5 touchdowns per game to running backs since Week 9. Disappointingly saw Henderson cede some work to Ramondre after he came back, but he's still our top projected back of the two in this game. He is less than 0.5% behind Cook for the highest first TD probability, but Ramondre is 5%, Diggs is 6.5%. His 10% is the highest by a pretty sizable margin for the Pats. And we'll note that last week with Stevenson in, they went Ramondre on the first drive to set it up and immediately shifted to Henderson in the red zone, where the Bills are allowing 60% red zone conversion rate. So anytime TD parlay here is plus 1410. Everyone's 44% or higher to at least find the end zone. Pretty solid matchups, solid cast of guys here. Let's see if we get back to the wins.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Big names on the list this week, and I'm rooting for this one to come to fruition. We need that big 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5 week before the season ends. I've got a good feeling this week. Reminder with Dimers Pro, you get our projections hub to its fullest extent. That includes first touchdown probabilities, anytime touchdown probabilities, 2+ and 3+ touchdown probabilities. Whoever's going to score this weekend will tell you how likely it is to happen before it happens. And with Dimers Pro, 50% off, promo code podcast. Get the best deal you can on your Dimers Pro subscription. Okay, it's an untraditional version of the College Corner this week. Bowl games are starting up soon. We are seeing those populate for the college football probabilities on the site. But for now, let's take a broad look at the college football playoff picture with another rendition of the College Corner.
College Corner.
All right, Dave is going to help me here. We are going to pull up our college football futures page right now, and I will talk you through the landscape of what I see here. Just from a broad sense, I will say these are extremely fairly priced options right now. There is not really any spot here that you can find a significant edge or value. There's also not really any team you could select here that is mispriced in a negative way that shows horrible value. For the most part, this is all dead on. So odds makers, congratulations. You did something right. As far as what is likely to happen here, I will call out a couple interesting things. You've got the two teams who faced in the Big Ten championship, number 1 versus number 2 at the top. This may be a surprise to some, may not be a surprise to others, but the team that lost that game, Ohio State, who lost head-to-head to Indiana, is still the favorite, both from a betting odds perspective and a probability perspective, according to our model. Now, Ohio State at roughly a 26% probability to win the championship. Does that feel appetizing at plus 240? To me, I would say no. I think if you just think Ohio State is the best team and you want to scoop them up at plus 240, you're not going to get better odds than that before the playoff, of course. I will say these odds have skyrocketed down because before the Indiana game, when they were a favorite in that game, they were still plus 180 or so. So you're getting a little bit of a boost bulked up, just the fact that they lost to Indiana. From what I saw in that game, I will say this, those two teams are incredibly evenly matched. And they're on opposite sides of the bracket right now. Indiana is now the number 1 overall seed. Ohio State does have to potentially go through Georgia, who, as our model shows, is kind of the third team here to keep an eye on. They've got a 13% probability to win the ultimate championship here. For me, I personally would not bet either of the favorites at under 3-1. If anything got over 3-1 at any point, it might have my attention. But for now, if I had to pick one gun to my head, I do think Indiana is probably the side that has a little bit better value here. They're only 3% off of what Ohio State's probability is. You do get them at plus 290 as opposed to plus 240. They beat Ohio State head-to-head already, and they're on the opposite side of the bracket with a somewhat more favorable draw. However, as far as long shots go, I'll give you one team outside the top 3 that I think would be the personal play here, just from where everything stands. I'm looking at the Oregon Ducks at 8-1 odds with that 10% probability. They are our model's 4th most likely champion, and that is noteworthy because that means they were underseeded. They did not get the 4 seed in the college football playoff bracket. They do have to play in the first round. Now, they are 21.5-point favorites against James Madison at home.
Yeah.
That's basically a bye. This is a James Madison team who has a head coach who's departing them already for UCLA. I'd be stunned if this was not a blowout, just like the bye games were last year in the first round of the college football playoff. If you assume Oregon gets into that next round, the quarterfinals, which they are highly favored to do, their spot in the bracket seems favorable to me. They are going to have to go through Texas Tech, who did get the 4 seed from the committee, but is actually a lower probability to win the championship per our model. I think that means something. I think we have seen Oregon finish the season on a hot streak. They've covered 3 straight games to conclude the year. They did show some stuff in some road games, going at Iowa and winning in a rainstorm this year. Really, Oregon's only slip up was against the number 1 seed in this playoff, the Indiana Hoosiers. And even that game was tied late into the 4th quarter. I think you can argue they played Indiana as good as anybody played them this year outside of Ohio State. So for me, if you're Oregon, the nice thing, they're on the opposite side of the bracket from both Ohio State and Georgia. Their path here is Texas Tech, who they're more probable to win the championship than. And then an Indiana team they've already seen once before, played them close, get a little bit of revenge. I think they have the path to get this done, and I think they probably are the team that would show maybe a tiny bit of value, just given that our model shows they've been underseeded slightly. Like I said at the top, this is not an automatic play. This is certainly not an immense value play that we would recommend with a fire emoji on our site. But at a 10% probability as the 4th most likely champion with 8-1 odds, that is my only futures play before the college football playoff begins.
Pretty good stuff. Yeah, I do think it's interesting that, it doesn't surprise me to see the model not completely aligned with the rankings, but that there's at least one, potentially should have had a bye team. And yeah, I guess the first round matchup isn't affecting their win probability too much, given that they're probably 90% or higher favorite in that game on the money line, probably 95 or something. Would you say they're if you had to pick one, what's the bracket buster? What team you think could at least, maybe not win, but make noise, upset somebody?
Yeah, it's a very fair question. The hard thing, this year is so strange because there's teams in this playoff that are losing their coach actively. Ole Miss would be a team I'd want to take a shot at, but with no Lane Kiffin coaching them, how can you even know what you're getting? Same thing like Alabama. There's rumors right now, given the chaos at Michigan, that Kalen DeBoer, Alabama's head coach, might not coach the playoff and might take the Michigan job. Wow. So you really, my best advice truly, if I was handicapping this entire event, I would not stray into long shots because you've got to question the motivational concerns, as crazy as that sounds. This is a year where I'd be stunned if one of the top 4, maybe top 5, I'd go as far as Texas Tech as the cutoff for teams that can win the national championship. And I guess if you consider Texas Tech a long shot, that would be my shout, but they're the 4 seed. They got to buy. It doesn't really feel all that fair to call them that,
Yep, that's fair. Cool. Good stuff, Greg. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, my friend. All right. Plenty of college basketball as well. Nothing on the college corner for me this week. It's a quiet slate tonight on Thursday, and there are no lines, so no probabilities for later this weekend. But stay tuned. Throughout college basketball season, we will have more for you. And if you want all of this yourself, Dimers Pro will give you those in real time. Next up, it's one of our favorite segments on a personal basis. It's what do we personally like in week 15? Dave, what are you going with this week?
I'm going to try and leverage what worked for me last week, both on the show and on the Thursday Night Football play, with a little parlay approach. And I will say that I do like all three of these guys. I think each one presents a ladder opportunity, and you can't really go wrong with one. Closer to the weekend, if you ask me to pick one, maybe I will have one for you. But right now, I like them all in their individual situations. So I'm going to take a little plus 1343 RB receiving yards parlay on DraftKings with Derrick Henry for 15 plus, Kenneth Gainwell for 25 plus, and Aaron Jones for 25 plus. I talked about Henry and Aaron Jones earlier. I did not get to Gainwell real quick. Let me just give you the pitch for him. I got him somewhere here in my notes, but ultimately he's been very consistent at hitting this number, which is key, probably more important than anything in that situation, and has been a target for Aaron Rodgers with a very depleted receiving core. He's actually projecting as the Steelers' second leading receiver in this game in our box score, 24 yards behind Metcalf's 58. It's not a big number, but if you're the second leading guy, you like to think there should be some room to go higher. He's plus money for 25. He's hit this in 5 of his last 6, 5 targets in 4 of those games. Already talked about the Bengals being vulnerable for Derrick Henry. Took 1 catch for 44 yards against them 2 weeks ago. And Aaron Jones gets a Cowboys defense that struggles on 3rd and long and against receiving backs right here. I think you could play this multiple ways. I'll probably do it more than one. Full caveat, full disclosure. I'll probably do a little round robin, maybe of 40 plus for these 3 guys, and maybe a little side parlay of 5 plus receiving yards each in the first quarter, or whichever I can get for plus money for them. But it should be 5 for each of them. But yeah, I love these 3 guys in good matchups this week. Kind of what I did last week with the James Cook receiving ladder. That was successful. And Gibbs on Thursday Night Football. So yeah, let's go.
I got to say, I'm coming off watching my running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, just be the primary receiving option for an entire game. These numbers look so small. It's one of my favorite parts about betting running backs to hit reception targets is they only need 1 to potentially go over their yard markers if you get the right play. So I love it. I endorse this. This is both a fun and smart way to go about this, Dave. I'm rooting for it to happen. I think this could be the week. I'm going to get real specific here, folks. Get ready for this. And I'm staying in my sweet spot, Dave. Last week in the personal picks portion of this, I called the exact game script of my Detroit Lions offensive plan. I didn't expect it would lead to a decisive victory, but it worked out exactly how I thought, with Montgomery on the ground and Gibbs through the air. This week, I am staying with my football team. However, this week, I think this could be some bad things for my quarterback. I'm looking at Jared Goff, and I am going to play a Jared Goff interception ladder. This is my pitch. Jared Goff, back in his old stomping grounds, SoFi Stadium, Los Angeles. Jared Goff's second game as a Detroit Lion in Los Angeles. The only previous game at SoFi, he had 2 interceptions in that game back in 2021. He has now thrown an interception in all of his regular season games against the Rams as a Detroit Lion. This is a highly emotional game. Matt Stafford versus his former team, Jared Goff versus his former team. We've kind of seen this be a juiced up version of events throughout these last couple of years. The main difference this year, the Detroit Lions are banged up. They're worse. The receiving core is not nearly as healthy and or as good as it has been in previous years. And I think this is backed up, given how Detroit's last month and a half has gone. They've been playing from behind quite a bit more, which has led to more Jared Goff passing attempts. Goff has thrown 37 or more passing attempts in 3 of his last 6 games this season. Comparatively to the last 2 years, just to make this point, he only threw 37 or more passes 3 times in 17 games in 2024. He only threw 37 or more passes 5 times in the season before that, excuse me. So this year, he's doing it all the time. He's got games with 40-plus passing attempts. They're playing from behind. They're just leaning on it. The ground game, Montgomery's falling apart. It's not there. I think he's going to be throwing a lot in this game indoors. I think they're going to be playing from behind because the Rams are my Super Bowl pick right now. And just in terms of superstition or maybe data point, whatever you want to call it, Jared Goff has had a multi-interception game in every single season of his career. He hasn't had one this year yet. That's insane. I don't know how we've made it this far without one of those. I think this is probably the time. In fact, a couple more quick data points. Last year, he had a 5-interception game. We've seen big numbers in big games from him before. If you even want matchup data, Dave, let me get more granular for you. The Los Angeles Rams lead the NFL in interceptions in the last 4 weeks. They have 7 picks in their last 4 games. They intercepted Sam Darnold 4 times in a game 4 weeks ago. We have seen them do this. I'm calling my shot. This is the ladder play, Dave. You can get Jared Goff 1+ interception at plus money plus 121. You can get Jared Goff 2+ interceptions at plus 680. Dave, I'm getting crazy now, but I'm betting Jared Goff 3+ interceptions at 39-1. And dare I say, I'm betting Jared Goff 4+ interceptions. That's what Sam Darnold did this month. And if it happens, it is 100-1 at DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm going to have my heart broken, but my wallet padded if this hits.
I am getting more excited. Like every single stat I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah, I absolutely love this. I can't believe he's plus money for 1. That's really weird, honestly, especially against this Rams defense. Jared Goff, 2 4-pick games in his career, 1 5-pick game 1 year ago. So, yeah, let's go, dude. I love this. This is so fun. If Jared Goff throws 4 picks, you're going to bankroll my entire NFL season and next year. So let's go, buddy.
Yeah, rooting against my own quarterback. What could go wrong? All right, let's conclude the show with this. What else do we have on Dimers this week?
What's on Dimers this week?
Long show, so I'll keep this one a little quick here. Not a whole lot to talk about. College football bowl season, week 15 NFL coverage all week long. Obviously, daily NBA, NHL, college basketball. We've got plenty more to come for you. Look out for the new articles on site. We'll have a lot of college football and NFL stuff as we approach the weekend. Dimers model reports, of course. And yeah, we got it all for you. Don't sleep on dimers.com. Take you all the way through Monday Night Football, everything in week 15.
Join us, loyal listeners. We would like more of you with us in our great community. Dave, thank you. Thank you to our listeners. Great week of episodes here. We will be back again next Tuesday. Good luck this weekend. Gamble responsibly, everybody. And Jared Goff, help us out one time.
One time, buddy. Or 4.
Listen up.